Other news from the Presidency over the last 24 hours, it says it's been able to create over 550,000 job opportunities as part of the Presidential Employment Stimulus Program. The program was part of the response to the pandemic. You know, of course, we have over 9 million young people who don't have jobs, a total of around 12 million people who want to work but don't have a formal job. Kristal Duncan-Willams is the project lead at the organisation Youth Capital Kristal. Good afternoon to you. So 550,000 people, over 500,000, get job opportunities. It sounds like a lot, and I don't want to knock it, but in the greater scheme of things, it's not really a huge amount.
No, I mean, if you take it as a percentage of 9 million, it's a really small amount. And further to that point, government is very careful to use the word opportunities. So the idea is that these are short-term employment opportunities. These aren't long-term jobs. And so as we saw with phase one, it was great for the 320,000 young people who were employed as teachers' assistants. But then many of them are sitting at home again once that phase of the project has passed. So I think we really need to ask what comes next. After these opportunities are created, what next for these young people? And how do these opportunities help to create a career path for young people into long-term employment?
So, I mean, do we know, is there research which shows if these opportunities, and I mean, you know, they've been sort of similar initiatives in the past, is there research that shows if they actually change the lives of these young people in any way? I mean, properly in the longer term, as you point out.
Yes, so I mean, it's difficult to say from the phase one of the stimulus package, particularly as it relates to the youth interventions around the teachers' assistants. But we at Youth Capital have worked with Auto SA Cape and Youth at Work to come out with a report reviewing that phase of the stimulus package. And also we've worked particularly with these organizations as they've been running these teacher assistant type programs for a number of years now through the YES initiative. And what they see is that the programs are a year long, and the mentorship and training that young people get and the information they get around what their exit opportunities are do help to create some success for a next step for youth who have come through their programs. So knowledge does exist in the sector from other similar programs, and I think government needs to look to these NGOs who have been doing the work for the little small levers we can put in place in these programs to make a real return on our investment, because let's be honest, you know, it's billions, and it would be great if that actually led to long-term employment for young people.
So, I mean, the issue really, I mean, we have these sort of programs, and there are others that try and link young people into work opportunities, into jobs. But, I mean, do the jobs exist? And, I mean, I realize all of these things work together. That's the problem with economics. But even if we give people enough opportunities, work opportunities, I mean, I hate that phrase, but I mean, does that actually mean that there are jobs for them to go into after that? And I don't know if those jobs exist.
That's a very valid point, Stephen. And, you know, that's why in the action plan that Youth Capital has put forward, we have, you know, one of the points is to make public employment work, which is around these kinds of interventions. But another point we have is that we need to unlock opportunities. And what we mean here is things like the employment tax incentive, BBBE ratings, these kinds of government incentives. How do SMMEs begin to unlock these opportunities? We know that corporates have accessed them and continue to access them, but there is a finite number of opportunities that can be created by big corporates. We need to start focusing our energies on small and medium enterprises and seeing what support they need to create jobs for young people, so that there is an opportunity for a young person to step into when these short-term public opportunities end.
And I suppose that also requires, as you point out, sometimes, you know, one or two government programs can make a big difference. The other question, of course, is whether we get any momentum in the economy, because if you start to then create the income, say, for 550,000 young people, if they get a permanent job, even if they don't get paid very much, that's going to stimulate the economy all on its own.
Absolutely. And, you know, that's why we think that, you know, getting minimum wage, as you say, into the pockets of these young people, it needs to be a long-term solution, because then it becomes a cyclical thing. Young people will have money to spend in the economy that will drive further growth in the economy. And we know that SMMEs are in these township economies, are closer to where young people are living, and we need to create opportunities that are close to where young people live, because we know that transport costs are a big hindrance and often stand in the way of young people being able to remain in a work opportunity even when they find one. So these are some of the things we need to consider.
The debate around youth unemployment, I mean, do you feel that it's changed? I mean, there's a lot more urgency around it, and I think that's partly because of the pandemic. I think it's also partly perhaps because of the problems we've seen at school level and so many young people leaving school because of the pandemic. Do you feel the debate is changing? Is there a sense of urgency that wasn't there 3 years ago?
I think the feeling is definitely changed. One, as you say, definitely urgency. We can feel it much more than when we started. Youth Capital is quite young. We've been around since 2018, but I've definitely seen a shift. The other thing that I think is encouraging is that people are beginning to realize that young people need more than just a job opportunity. So things like the basic package of support, which is going to be piloted quite soon, looks at the support that young people need besides just the job. Career guidance, information around what pathways exist and how to access those pathways. This information bridging is something that I think people are realizing young people need support, and also the mental health question. So that's come up a lot because of the pandemic, but it's been a problem for young people before. So I think the shift in conversations to go broader than just creating a job does give me some optimism around the future for employment creation, and also I think collaboration. So recognizing what government can and cannot do and where we need to partner with the private sector more closely to create a pipeline for young people and unlock jobs.
So over 550,000 people access these jobs, and we know that there are over 12, let me just use the figure for younger people, I think it's 9.3 million people. 958,190 people are due to write the matric exam, the National Senior Certificate, this year. Now, I would say we'll be lucky if half of those people, maybe two-thirds, go into higher education. What I'm trying to get to is, you have 550,000 people getting the access to these job opportunities. Suddenly that number is replaced by the people who matriculate this year.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. That's what we've seen if we look at the numbers. If you think about the pool, the number of young people entering the labor market far exceeds the number of young people who are finding jobs and exiting this pool of unemployed. And so the numbers continue to exponentially grow. And so what we really need to look at is these large-scale interventions, but like I say, acknowledging that they have their limits, and looking at other interventions which might seem small-scale, but if we add them all together, then create a large number of opportunities for young people.
Kristal Duncan-Willams, project lead at Youth Capital. I really appreciate the time. Thanks very much indeed.